We Ukrainians believe that European countries are our neighbors, but in reality this is only a simple geographical fact. If we have a look at the economic and social facts and figures, we're not in Europe at all. So where is our place? The key figures indicate that our place is in the Commonwealth of underdeveloped African countries. Every year we lose around 300,000 people, which is equal to the population of a middle-sized European city like Florence, for example. Apart from that, Ukrainians live on average 10 years less than people in developed countries do. Commonly, Ukraine is compared with France by virtue of its area, climate, and potential. Life expectancy in France is almost 82 years, while in Ukraine the age is hardly 70 years. Even the population of Guatemala, Salvador, and Honduras live longer than we do. Have you ever thought why the life expectancy in Ukraine is so short? It is because Ukraine is very poor. Economic development figures demonstrate that we're a third world country, and it's a fact, we are. We're in the same level as Salvador or Mongolia. Worse than that, Ukraine is practically the least desirable place to be born in. It ranks 78th out of 80. Kenya, Bangladesh, Israel in a state of constant war, and even Syria with its prolonged civil war are better than us. Why is it happening? Ukrainians are a very hard-working nation of people. People in Kyiv work on average 290 hours longer per year than people in Paris, but we lack any real significant levels of production. This is due mainly to the fact labor productivity in Ukraine is twice as low as in Russia, 3 times as low as in Belarus, 4 times lower than in Europe, and 6.5 times lower than in the United States. We're using obsolete equipment and outdated technologies. Has the situation been improving over time? According to IMF, Ukraine has shown a zero growth of real GDP over the last 20 years, from 1993 to 2013. If we took 1991 as a starting point, we would see that we have lost 1/5 of our economy, including its most valuable and technological part, machine engineering. So what is the bottom line of 23 years of reforms? Ukraine has become an economic outsider. A country that specializes in exporting raw materials and people, as well as importing costly, ready-to-use products. Sadly, we have to admit we're a donor country for someone else's growth. After 23 years of reforms, only 5% of the population in Ukraine can be classified as middle class according to the EU standards. An extremely low level of economic development in our country is best demonstrated by the following comparison. Consider this. Ukraine, with 20 million workers, exports $35 billion less than IBM, who has less than 500,000 workers. Will multi-billion loans help save the Ukrainian economy? Probably not. Outflow of money from Ukraine abroad exceeds $8 billion a year. Specifically, though, the main problem does not lie in the money. We have become trapped on a hamster wheel. We borrow more and more and gobble up this money, instantly producing no results. We increase imports instead of increasing our own production. Consciously or not, we're creating problems for the future generations. The speed of such commercial consumption, import exceeding export, is $15 billion annually. What is the basis for all this? The thing is, as if on purpose, Ukraine has developed a set of policies which consistently eliminate productive business opportunities. Ukraine is ranked 135th out of 144 by property rights protection between Burundi and Myanmar. Ukraine ranks 118th out of 144 by irregular payments and bribes between Madagascar and Nepal. We're 137th by effective taxation on incentives to invest. Where are these policies taking us? Right now, Ukrainian companies continue to lose their value, markets, and prospects for development. The domestic producer is being gradually destroyed. Only resource-based businesses survive in Ukraine. Resource-based economy accounts for 57% of overall economic activity in Ukraine. Key export industries, metallurgy, agriculture, chemical industry, and even information technologies are 80% resource-based. Ukraine's economic disaster is primarily rooted in unprofessional and unpatriotic country management. Government officials have sufficient reasons to promote corruption schemes and no motivation to create favorable conditions for innovative business development. People choose to be ministers not because of the salary, but because of the benefits which will give them the powers to pursue their own interests. There is no teamwork. During the last 23 years, there has been only an ongoing war of ruling clans for control over resources and the country's budget. Instead of providing a boost for the growth of the economy, Ukraine's political system is continuously destroying the environment for competitive, innovative business. In fact, neither superficial facelift reforms nor evolutionary development will be able to change the situation. The foundation which could have been improved has been destroyed. We need dramatic changes. We need to build a new consciousness, one of accountability based on professional and consistent economically responsible patriotism. Even in this current chaos, there exist some separate effective business groups. But even given the most qualified workforce, substantive money, and an effective business model, nobody will be able to survive when everything around is collapsing and falling apart. In the situation that we're currently facing, Ukraine can be saved only if public offices are occupied by people of deeds, professional people who all share real moral values. A substantial change of mindset is required. A new ideology must be formed, and it must be based on economic responsibility for the country. We should refuse to move by reactions. Instead of being a passive spectator, the government must become forward in creating the right conditions for significant and long-lasting development and growth. We need to build a totally Ukraine-centric national system controlled by the citizens and professional management, competent authorities. Ukraine needs to focus strongly on priority industries which can ensure economic prosperity, R&D intensive production. We need to create the conditions to help substitute import and to actually create high value-added export products. We need to launch programs designed to support our priority industries by all means possible. Temporary tax reliefs, affordable loans for development, export stimulation, elimination of regulatory hurdles, price regulation to support domestic producers, infrastructure construction for new production facilities, transparent state contracts. By applying the best world practices, creating industrial and innovative business parks, experimental regional and industry-specific projects, and striving for nationwide development, we should move step by step in our efforts for changing the country. Likewise, the foundation of Ukraine's success should be based on the development of education. We should gradually create a modern and more comprehensive educational chain, from kindergartens to universities. Education should adhere to the best world practices and standards. It should follow a Ukraine-centric, pragmatic, and idealistic approach. If necessary, significant transformations in education should be supported by international aid programs, as well as target monetary emissions by the government. Education is a guarantee of our national economic development. We should never step back, never retreat to past again. There cannot be any room for liberalism or compromise during this critical reformation period. If the decisions are made, they should be implemented regardless of the opponent's opinions and the present difficulties.